waste a lot of time. This doesn't require a lot, really, of explanation at all. So I'm just going to break this down real quickly. All right, so we've all been talking about Megan Thee Stallion. We've all been talking about what's going on with her. The obvious. I talked last night from the Trump Tower about how I see a lot of different things that just don't add up in the equation or whatever the case may be, and that's great. But this is one of the funny things. I look back and I said, okay, this is a woman that just won arguably one of the biggest trials out there, if you want to say. I mean, as far as like, where interest is anyway. And yet this woman has not made an announcement about her win. Now, traditionally, usually when people win these cases, in a couple of days, if not the following days, they make some type of, announcement, give their feelings, or whatever the case may be. And I could be wrong, and they could be just waiting to see when he gets sentenced to make their. But this usually is some type of preliminary statement, at least by the lawyer. And I find that kind of odd because I didn't see anything with this. I noticed that and I know from being with Bad Boy, and Rockefeller's been around just as long as Bad Boy, so they have some of the similar tactics as far as moving. She could have been silenced for making any public statements. I mean, Rock Nation and management or Jay directly himself could have done that. Now I don't want to get it too misconstrued. But at the same time, I would think some form of her social media would say something regarding this. Instead, what she's relying on, and I think I guess it's her tactic, or maybe the tactic of some of the people up at Rock Nation, is relying on the people to speak for her. And if that's the case, they're doing a terrible job. They're doing a terrible job. See, we cannot leave it out of the equation that this young lady lied, and she lied on under oath. And I'm not going to forget that. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm saying, with her superstardom, how come she has not addressed the public as far as the conviction of Tory Lanez? And I'm kind of confused about it. I'm starting to look at Megan like she's kind of sus. Is that the best word to use? She's sus. She's very sus right now. She hasn't regarded or made any public announcements. She hasn't agreed to sit down with anybody. Even Amber Heard sat down with people after she got convicted. I mean, after she lost the trial. Amber Heard sat down. And even though it was contradictory, like I said, this might be under directive of Rock Nation saying, hey, don't you say nothing until he's convicted. Now, what I really think is, I think she's not saying anything because she's anticipating, let's just say anticipating Tory Lanez filing for an appeal. And I think she's anticipating the possibility that the courts might come after her for lying under oath, which is also a possibility that many of these women that are sitting up on line, oh, Megan won. Megan won. Oh, it's a lovely day for black women everywhere. If you call this a win, you're an idiot. If you call this a win, you're losing already. If you call this a win, ladies, you are so delved into victimhood that there's no turning back. You will victim your way through life. This is what I call the new terminology with a lot of women nowadays. They like to victim their way through life. Oh my God, they did something to us. Please, police, please, judge, please, Mr. White Man, please, society, come help me. I'm being victimized. This is the new area to go for a lot of minority women and a lot of women in general. But this right here is the biggest form of victimization I've ever seen in my life. We've got men that are making bigger and larger statements about what happened here in the disposition of the case the Rock Nation is. So I'm asking the question, I ask it again. Where is Rock Nation? Where is Meg Thee Stallion to speak on any of this? Because this past 3 consistent days, including today, I told you today was going to be day 3. I ran into this old boy. I'm going to say that about him. Old boy. You know what I mean? Because that's what he was. He was a boy. I ran into this old boy on Instagram, and he was just channeling along with it. It's matter of factly how a lot of the male, like it's 2 versions of how the male support is going for this and the female support is going for this. The male support that's throwing up Instagram posts, things like that, or whatever. In the case of Megan Thee Stallion, when they're throwing up stuff, they're throwing it up in the guise of almost bashing men too, but they're bashing men for a totally different reason. They're bashing men while pretending that they're women mentally, which is like disturbing in itself. Like, I don't have no problem with folks in the LBGT community or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about you cannot get online. First of all, I could tell that the guy was, and the reason I made that statement, I could tell the guy was part of that community. I don't have no problem with that, whatever. But it's more so the fact that you're the same person that's sitting up. What's going on, Kara? You're the same person that will sit online as a person involved in the LBGT community, and you will talk about all the atrocities, all the things that go against you, rightfully so. But then at the same arm, you will be the most vicious, vile person possible when it comes to men that you're still a part of our gender. Doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is, you're a guy. You understand what I'm saying? And as a guy, whatever, regardless of your sexual orientations, there's certain things that I see that I need from you. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning, like, if you were that LBGT man and you were in a apartment full of women, and somebody broke into the apartment and there's nothing but a whole bunch of women in there, well, as that man, regardless of sexual orientation, it is your job to defend those women. You understand? We got a lot of male bashers on the lines nowadays. That's what I'm trying to tell you, people. And a lot of these male bashers, we're thinking, and I didn't get to point this out last night, we're thinking of just females. But no, in actuality, a lot of men that are doing this. Now, all of them are not part of the LBGT. A lot of them are part of what I like to call the lick your feet crew. You understand what I'm saying? These are the men that, baby, let me give you a massage. Baby, let me buy you that new refrigerator. Baby, I just want to cater to you ass type motherfuckers. These are the guys you got to watch for too, because these type, they'll do anything. They're predators, to be quite honest with you. They're predators. These men, they will, how can I say it? They will cater to what your wants are and everything like that or whatever, but for specific reason, not because they love you and they want to see you happy. No, they do it because they have some ulterior goal and motive at the end. Usually it's to sleep with you. This is the weakest form of man because this man, he never gets vajay outside of using this tactic and technique that most of them have been using for 10, 15, 20 years. So I know it very well. See, I've always been at the helm of one thing that I've been lucky for. When I walk into a room or I walk around people, I'm just walking around and it shows every time when I go out. I had it happen last night again. I have a way of commanding the room. So when I come into a room, a lot of times people pay attention to me. Not all men can do that. A lot of men, they live life going through trying to have that moment. And what they try to do now is, which I find is very weird, they try to create that moment by vying on girls' sympathy and well, giving sympathy and empathy to situations that don't require it. Thus far, here, this one. So a lot of these men will join the bandwagons of advocacy and things like that and pretend, like in this case, Megan Thee Stallion and that advocacy of the guilty verdict. They will join advocacies like this with the pure intention of not supporting you, but with the intention of getting cash apps, with the intention of getting attention themselves, with the pulse and intention of many different things, but most of it leads up to sexual. Most of it leads up to sexual. And what you'll find is if you really dig deep into these conversations once they initiate, what you'll find is when you look between the lines and you look at the replies and the comments back and forth or whatever, you will find at some point or another, these same men that said they were so pure in giving their support, what you'll find is at a certain point in the conversation, as they get more familiar, they'll now start to push up on the woman. They'll now start to entice the woman. They'll now say, well, you know what? You got nice hair. They'll give fake compliments and shit like that. Don't ever give a woman a fake compliment. If you want to get cut off real quick, give a woman a fake compliment. A smart woman gonna cut you off. A dumb woman gonna take it and eat it. But a smart woman gonna cut you off if you give too many fake compliments. Trust me on this one. You never want to give a girl too many fake compliments. But there's a subsect of men that are out there. Kara know what I'm talking about. Am I lying? Am I lying, Kara? So there's a subset of men out there that in a normal world, not even 10 years ago in the game, you know what I'm saying? And women, and not even 5, 10 years back in the game, we would have called these women condescending, exactly. We would have called these women, let's say for a better lack of words, the unfuckables. All right? The team of the unfuckables. And this team of unfuckables, these women, and I call them the unfuckables because of this. One, these women in a normal world, men wouldn't pay attention to them. It doesn't even have to necessarily be because of their looks, it's because of their personality. And many of you women are annoying as fuck. That's one problem. And I mean annoying in the fact of not just your personality, but the cackling laughs, the condescending voices, this insult culture that we have today. That's what they call the unfuckables. That's my new word. Don't y'all steal my shit. They're unfuckables. You know, like the Incredibles, or the Untouchables, the Unfuckables. Many of these women in the normal world 10 years ago, without social media being as heavy as it is right now, many of these women would have never had any attention pointed to them or paid to them. I'm being very seriously. What social media has done for a lot of women is it has made normally unattractive women be able to have loud voices. And I know this very well. Fellas, tell me if you know this. I notice a thing that always goes on. It goes on here too in Connecticut where I live. I only live a few minutes outside New York, but especially when I'm in New York, you will find or walk past a woman, and I've peeped this a million times. This is a tactic that these ladies use. Now, this tactic is not condescending to younger women or older women. It's right in the middle. And what they'll do is they'll be a few feet in front of you, and you'll be looking at this woman, and or you just gaze or see her coming in your oncoming direction, or whatever the case may be, and she's not saying anything, not saying a word. All of a sudden, she will pick up the phone out of her pocket, and what this really translates into, there goes a attractive guy, but let me act like I'm not interested. This is real high school third grade twattage right here, okay? Third grade twattage. But what they'll do is they'll pretend like they're not interested in the guy, that the guy's not all that, blah, 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 blah. But many women that are more beautiful than these women, you understand what I'm saying, will not approach these men this way. This is the part that you miss out. These are many of times subpar looking women. Meaning that they're not as hot as they think they are. You're hot in a crowd of women that aren't hot. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if that makes any sense. And if you've seen all the women that I've been around, the pictures I put up of women and stuff like that, you will understand what I mean by that. So the unfuckables then turn to attack mode. All right. So what happens is this woman is a few feet in front of you or whatever, and all of a sudden she pulls out a cell phone and she starts talking as loud as she possibly can. This is to garner your attention, man. This is a desperate woman. And you got to start understanding that. See, many of y'all think that these girls have all this confidence and everything like that, but actually they're part of the Unfuckables Club. All right? The Unfuckables team and regiment and roster is large. It's international to be exact. You know what I mean? And these group of unfuckables, these women, what they do is, since nobody will pay attention to them outwardly, their sole purpose is to go around and create confusion and panic and victimhood everywhere that they could possibly reach out to. Okay, this is not a joke. This is dead serious, and I'm seeing this tactic being used more and more by the unfuckables. I don't know why the unfuckables chose to go this route, but in a normal world, I'll quote this when I say Meg the Stallion. I saw a tweet. Actually, it was an Instagram post. My fault. I saw an Instagram post about Meg, and a girl commented, and she said, "Meg ain't look like that in high school, and she don't look like that in person." I said, "Damn." Now, judge this. This wasn't some random. This was somebody that actually, and I'm gonna see if I can find it and put it up for you guys. I got a couple of pieces I got to put up for you guys, but this was wasn't somebody random. This was somebody that knew her and went to school with her. You understand? So this wasn't a stranger. This was somebody that knew her and went to school with her. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, yo, listen, something don't match up here. And then I started forgetting about this equation. Now, y'all want to listen to this. As y'all hear these tirades online or whatever, and I'm going to end this. But as you guys hear these tirades online by these women and stuff like that or whatever, right? I know a lot of times in that little small little profile picture, you can't see these women that are supporting Meg the Stallion and these men that are supporting Meg the Stallion by simultaneously bashing men of color unilaterally. Like, we were all out there with a gun. We're all prone to have a gun to shoot Megan the Stallion, which your home friend actually shot you and you lied and said, whatever. What you got to realize is this. One, these women use empathy, sympathy, and victimhood very well. Their manipulation points on this are crazy, all right? Do I believe that women of color are being abused, attacked, and things like that? Yes, I do. But I believe a lot of it has to do with trauma that a lot of these women have from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And in many cases, it's apparent that it's a lot of situations that these women put their self into. You went and dated that motherfucker that you knew had just gotten out of jail for the third or fourth or fifth time, ran him into your house, brought him around your kids, had him eating up all the kids' snacks, all that shit. You chose to date that motherfucker. And then upon knowing all that, knowing this was his third time out of jail, knowing he had to get released to your house for parole and everything like that, you then choose to have a baby with this dude. And then when he do you wrong, you turn around and say, oh man, are terrible. Well, you didn't date a graduate from Yale. You didn't date a black male that was graduating from Harvard. You didn't date a black male doctor. You didn't date, you know why? Because as being part of the unfuckables, you know and I know that you can't attract the man like that. So instead, what you do is you project this lie to the public and you try to say that all men are doing you dirty, specifically men of color are doing you dirty, when in fact, the reality is a lot of these men are not fucking attracted to you. They're not attractive to you. So a lot of these women right now that are sitting up there and they're validating a woman lying under oath in court several times. One, if she will applaud a woman lying, that means she's probably 9 times out of 10 a liar herself. That means that you should never involve yourself with a woman like that. Two, if a woman is applauding a woman that lied, that goes to tell you something else. This woman picks gender over culture. And I'm going to go more into that later on. Y'all got to understand this dynamic what a lot of these women have now, where they have picked gender over the culture. Even when they have their diatribes and they speak, they will speak gender first as such quotes and talking points as a woman. I feel like I keep telling y'all these language points y'all got to listen for as men and women because there's a whole bunch of women that are not involved in this. You understand what I'm saying? If I had to really put it specifically, I say like 65 to 70% of women are involved in this type of tactical behavior. Y'all hit that like button if y'all would. If y'all don't do nothing else, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Do that for me. So these women, they base their feelings and they try to make them unilateral to explaining how the attributes of all men are. Okay, if that's the case, I've hit a couple chicks in the bathroom. I've I've hit a couple chicks in the park before. I've hit a couple chicks in the car before. Does that mean that all women unilaterally are tramps? Of course it doesn't. But you, on the other hand, as a woman, are allowed to use that excuse, and it's accepted because of the preordained hate that many of these people have already for men of color. You understand what I'm saying? So what you're doing, you're just clarifying and fortifying the basically the how can I say it? The attacks. I didn't want to say it that way, attacks, but because then it puts me in the victimhood and speaking against exactly what I'm talking about. But that's what it is. This victimhood insult culture, and that's the other thing. If you speak against Meg the Stallion, I just learned that. Shout out to Just Pearly Things because I just learned actually that terminology. But watching just a little quick clip with her, I don't watch her like that, but I watch this one little quick clip because she's got some annoying broads on there. Oh my god, you listen to her for like 5 or 10 minutes and you're like, oh my God, no wonder you're single, you know? Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. The funny thing about it is, in this one clip I had, this chick, she was talking about something in the odds of something or another. And I remember it was either Pearl or one of her guests. She said, oh, that's insult culture. This is where you say something emphatically correct. And it is nothing in a court of law, anywhere else, that any place that has reason and sanity and engages, like the rest of the world outside of that. I just want to speak about that too, because there's this like imaginative world of Narnia that Black and Latin people are creating, and they live in this space of Narnia. I'll get to that in a second. But the funny thing is, right, I just want to keep this in perspective here. A lot of these women will use insults when they're responding to you, meaning I can't argue down what you said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insult you, and that way I will dismiss you. So they will say things that they would never say to another man of any other different race. They'll call you the N-word. They'll talk to you like they're your auntie or your mom or some shit like that. It's like real delusional. And I'm like, I had this one girl, she had to be no older than like 23, 24 years old. This chick was really trying to talk to me like I was her stepson or some shit like that. And I'm looking at this shit, I'm like, what, and I was asking her questions. I was like, where did you go to college? What have you done thus far in life? At 22 years old, I was fucking in Miami. You get what I'm saying? At 22 years old, I was traveling across the country. I was in every club, high end club you could think of in New York City, working with a record company. You understand what I'm saying? So at 22 years old, what I was doing compared to 22 years old, where I can look at your timeline and see what you've been doing, at least what you put out there, it's no comparison. But this woman was talking so matter of factly. She knew matter of factly. She thought she was more educated than me. Then it skipped from that. The other thing that goes with insult culture is they'll attack your grammar. Listen, I don't respect you enough to do fucking spell check, first of all. You understand what I'm saying? Like, imagine me or imagine yourself as a person doing a spell check for a person you already don't respect anyway. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna take the time out to make sure I spell check the insultive motherfucking response I'm about to give you. I'm gonna spell check for that. So that's the other one. And then the second question I would ask, well, are you an English teacher? Are we getting graded on my response to you? If you're not smart enough, most people, if not 90, I think it's a 97% of the American public makes grammar mistakes daily. It is part of our culture. Okay. Internationally across the world, it skews even more. So it's a very high school, third grade twattish type of reply. So now automatically you know what type of woman you're dealing with when you're engaged in arguments like this. And many of these girls' arguments, they are being allowed to have these arguments and sustain these arguments online, and they sound in the tone and the tropes of a fucking third or fourth grader. If you listen to some of these women talk sometimes, and you listen to their descriptions and them explaining to each other whatever, they sound like children, adult children. I mean, like, these sound like I listened to this girl. I'm going to speak about that again. I listened to this girl on Just Pearly Things. If y'all go over there and check out her clips or whatever, it's a recent one with Andrew Tate and Brittany Griner on it. Well, they had this other girl on there, which totally fucked up the show. I don't know why she was there, and she was an English girl and she was black. She's not, listen, I don't promote what Brittany Griner does. I mean, excuse me, not Brittany Griner. Brittany what's her name? Brittany Renner. I don't promote what she does as far as going out having side babies everywhere, sleeping with this guy, whatever. But arguably, I cannot mistake the fact that she has more stardom than the average. Same thing with Andrew Tate. Agree with him? Don't agree with him? But still, he has more stardom than the average person. He's the most Google person in the world, I think, or something like that, right? So there's this other girl that's on the show. There's actually two women. There's one woman named Auntie, who I appreciate very much. She's an older black woman, older English black woman. And then there was this other chick on there. Actually, there was two other chicks. There was one girl, I think she's like Turkish or maybe some type of Spaniard or maybe Middle Eastern or something. She's cool. Then there's another girl on there that had this brown outfit on. If y'all go look at the clips, y'all going to see it. Y'all going to understand exactly what I mean. When she was doing the whole entire show, which both of these people, Andrew Tate and Brittany, are way bigger celebrities as far as concerning online or whatever the case may be, how they be measured at. She kept yelling and screaming. She kept talking over everybody, including the two celebrity guests, Andrew Tate and Brittany. And at one point, Brittany just shut down. She was like, yo, you know what? I really don't want to be here anymore because this bitch is killing the vibe. If you listen to the video, you'll hear in the audio that Brittany says this about this girl. She's like, why does she keep yelling and screaming? And if you listen to her voice, she almost sounded like a 12-year-old little girl. Like, close your eyes and listen to this girl's voice, and it almost sounds like a 12-year-old girl having a temper tantrum. And I'm saying to myself, I'm supposed to acquiesce my behavior, my sympathy and empathy to support that. I'm not supporting that. Fuck you. Now, in this Megan Thee Stallion situation, I got one offensive thing to say. And a lot of people ain't gonna like what I have to say. And for the Negroes, poor white trash, and everybody else to come in, the sexists, all the freaking feminists with your one-sided views, one-sided support system, meaning you get in power positions and you talk about the culture on your way there, but once you get in the power position, the only people that you employ is other women. Oh, you don't think I see that? Look at businesses last year that was started by black women, right? Do the demographics on who they employed. You'll be very surprised. They're not employing men, they're employing other women. There's a set of women within the culture that are bent on dominance, the same way you see far right wingers in this country bent on dominance. The difference is the far right wingers are not necessarily willing to join black women or Latin women on this quest, but black women and Latin women, in their sheer seek for dominance, are willing to join them. Now you can get that or don't get that, but I know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to that one. I will sit by that adamantly, and I'll show you it will hold true in the near future. A far right winger has nothing to benefit really about a couple skew of black women and Latin women joining them. I mean, excuse me, joining them and helping them out in their advocacies, right? They have no real interest. But on the reverse end of it, black women and Latin women, they have a lot to benefit for it, especially if you're a misandrist, you hate men. The number one benefit you have is it opens the doors for you to a lot of different arenas that you normally wouldn't have access to. These women know that. Case in point, Kataji Brown Jackson. I told you guys this yesterday in front of Trump Tower that a lot of black female candidates were brought up for that job. A lot of black female candidates were brought up for that job. The problem, I think personally, was the reason she got picked is because she had a white husband. All the other candidates that were up for that same Supreme Justice Court seat, they had black husbands, including two women that probably should have got their appointment before she did. You understand what I'm saying? One of those women being from Georgia, and I believe the other woman was from either Arkansas or Arizona, one of the two. But these two women, they had black husbands. Their black husbands, mind you, one was a neurologist, and I forgot what the other one was. But we're talking about aesthetics. See, Kataji Brown Jackson has a white husband. She has biracial daughters who really don't, in my opinion, I'm biracial myself, so I've been around a lot of biracial people. I've been around biracial groups, all kinds of shit. The point I'm getting at, I'm talking about like support groups and shit like that. You'd be surprised. And even in that matter, the first person that's making fun of you, if you're good looking, dress differently than them, speak differently than them, even though in the darkest heart of their hearts, they want to be the same way, is a lot of black girls. You understand what I'm saying? You ask any younger black kid right now who's the first person that picks on them in school, who's the first person that makes fun of them, who's the first person that picks with them, no matter what the premise is, they like them, they got a crush on them or whatever. Many times they won't point to other black boys or Latin boys, they'll point to black girls. And then the second in line is little white girls. And then the next one in line is little Latin girls. Little Latin girls are evil as shit too. You understand what I'm saying? I would even say on the same equate of evil as little black girls are. Little Latin girls, they're evil, but the way they're evil is differently. They'll set up their evil taunts. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll give you a word of advice. If you ever meet a Latin woman and she's always smiling all the time, watch that bitch. Watch any Latin woman that's always smiling and grinning. Because listen, I know too many, my homegirl Poochie. I always speak about my homegirl Poochie. I love her to death. My homegirl Poochie, she don't sit around and fucking smile with people. My homegirl Neil Salty, she never sat around and smiled with motherfuckers. My homegirl Marina, she never sat around and smiled with motherfuckers. Always watch a Latin chick that's constantly smiling when it ain't required to fucking smile. That's a fake broad. You understand what I'm saying? You run around any old school, old bejas, TTs, they're gonna tell you the same thing. Abuelas, they're gonna tell you the same thing. Watch any Latina that sit around and she's smiling all the fucking time unnecessarily. That bitch is up to something. Trust me when I tell you this. And she's using what she, in many cases, is presumptuous about her looks. Because there be some of the ugliest chicks. I'd be like, chick, I'm trying to tell you, listen, I done dated some bad Latinas. All right. You need to be assembled. All right. I'm talking about this chicks out here with fake eyebrows drawn on. Hair is really kinky and curly, but they take 2 or 3 hours to make it straight. You know what I'm saying? Stomach and everything else is just out of order. I don't care if you have a pretty face. If your body is out of whack, you look whack. You understand? So don't get that fooled. Remember, I told you that. This is somebody that's half Latino. I'm telling you. Don't trust no Latina that's always smiling all the fucking time. 9 times out of 10, she might be part of the setup. She might be part in the island. Most of the people that do, like, y'all don't know about this, but in the island, like a lot of people do kidnap. And I'm gonna say like Mexico, Dominican Republic, Panama, um, Ecuador, definitely, and maybe a few other places. But they do a lot of kidnappings down there. You understand what I'm saying? Now the kidnappings could be different reasons. You could owe money to somebody. You could be forced into prostitution. There's child stuff that goes on. I ain't gonna get into that because I hate any motherfucker that fucks with kids. But it's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on as far as the kidnapping thing. What you won't see is a lot of times in these situations, it's women facilitating the kidnappings and shit like that because they're the less prone. And I can show. I'll try to find something. There's got to be something out there. I'll find something to throw it up for example for you guys later so you can see it. But never trust a Latina that's always constantly fucking smiling all the time, always got that benign grin on her face. And the same thing I would tell you about black girls, but just a little bit different. Black girls, never trust any black woman that has that condescending look on her face, like she's into some shit, and you're justifying that and say, oh, that's just her heart, that's just her style. Or when she does something that normally any person with morality would do, and you want to give her a big hand of applause and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people sit back and they try to call these girls queens and shit like that. Listen, I live in the New York City tri-state. There have been chicks up here responsible for murders. There have been chicks up here responsible for setting men up. If you live in California, you know what I'm talking about as well. And see how people logged off when I started talking about what's the name? When I started talking about black girls, they wanted to log off. This is the problem. Black girls don't want to accept their own morality and lack of dignity. Now, I'm not saying the whole entire culture, and I'm part of both, so I could talk about you motherfuckers. They don't want to take responsibility. They always want to be held in a light that makes them look good. But when we talk about the stuff that doesn't make you look good, you want to log off, or the cuck men that support you, the simp men that support you. Yeah, take it all down your throat because you're a cuck. Those type of dudes, they support behavior like this and enable these women to further act even more so as they act. Thank you. You hear what she said? She said evil smirk. There's this little evil freaking Grinch that stole Christmas smirk that I've caught several times on black chicks. You understand? Whenever you see that smirk, men or women, get the fuck away from that motherfucker immediately. Whatever's going to happen in the long run is not going to benefit you. Trust me on this. It's not going to benefit you in the slightest regard in the end game. So your best decision is get the fuck away from this motherfucker. Y'all want to sit around and have this. See, this is the problem. These cucks and these simps and these mama boys, they have this unfathomable fucking consideration for these chicks, right? But at the same time, these chicks wouldn't have the same, those chicks that fit into that demographic. I'm not talking about the whole demographic of black women. I'm talking about the skewed, misconstrued, fucking, like this evil, I don't know, benign motherfuckers. These women don't have the same empathy and sympathy for you as you will for them. They're not going to allow you to say, I've seen debate after debate after debate after debate after debate, including women and men, whether it be Fresh and Fit, Just Pearly Things, many other, Donovan Shop, whoever it may be. I've watched all these shows and I've seen the consistency of these women when they say what they say. And I'm not taking any talking points. Most of those guys, the way I'm talking, they're not going to talk like me. They're not going to talk like me at all. Most of the women that go on these shows, they go on there in an argumentative fashion. They go on there to debate with you initially. They're already thinking about points that they're going to have in the back of their mind already that they're going to go at you and attack you on or whatever before they even get there because they've seen the shows before. That's why they're there. They've seen the shows before. That's why they're there. And when they get there, they try to create this narrative always of their victim. You will find this. Watch for this. They repeatedly say, and this goes for all women. This is inclusive of all women, not just exclusive to black and Latin women. They will create this paradigm where they are the victim because they know if they keep using the victim card, it's almost like daddy back in the day when you were growing up and you were daddy's girl. Well, if you went to daddy and you started crying, right? Daddy would be like, oh, baby, don't worry about it. And that's why I say the cucks and the mama's boys come into play. If you went to daddy and you were crying and you were daddy's daughter, 9 times out of 10, every man loves his daughter. So the first thing he do is he would compliment his daughters. You know, nobody wants to see their daughter crying. Well, these bitches have brought this shit to the prime time. And everybody's daddy. And don't you see me cry, daddy? What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do to make me happy again, daddy? Don't you see me crying? These are adult women, adult teenagers, and most of them part of the group that I like to consider the unfuckables. These are women that are unattractive, women in the normal world that if you went to the club, you be the last motherfucker chosen. The last motherfucker chosen. And I know this because I've been the chooser sometimes to choose the last motherfucker. You got to do what you got to do out here. It's hard. Don't judge me. My point is, the unfuckables are strong. Y'all don't realize how strong the unfuckables are nowadays. The unfuckables on every social media platform you can find, and you'll find these ugly, mostly out of shape, mostly beer belly bitches complaining about something. They never happy about anything. The only time these beer belly, usually fun, odd shaped, ugly, unattractive, bad DNA carrying ass bitches will say something in the skew of being happy is when they're talking about another woman or crushing down on another person or coming down on another person or seeing another person's demise. Hence, why you see so much advocacy going towards when Tory Lanez went to jail. And I'm so glad that white folks are calling it Amber Heard 2.0. Tory Lanez got more support from white folks than he does from his own people. His own women are out here right now trying to destroy his legacy. But you telling me white folks are sitting up and they're creating Amber Heard 2.0? That was whoever did that, whoever the white person was that did that, because I just seen a couple of white folks trending that. Whoever did that, you're a fucking genius. And thank you, because you seen right through the bullshit too. And I just said it last night. That's why I'm doing this live, because I just said it last night. I said, this is like Amber Heard 2.0. You understand? And it's proven itself out. It's not like I'm making it up. It's proven itself out. All the dynamics when Johnny Depp was found innocent, there were still people online talking about Johnny Depp was guilty. He's still guilty. I don't care if the court did find him innocent. You have to watch people that think like this. These are the people that were responsible. You know, the Civil War was fought because of the the South's guarantee that they want to succeed from the United States. They want, and Texas has done this several times. I'll run through this quick, but Texas and California tried their secession a couple of times too. But if you don't understand the word secession, it means they want to separate, have their own government, have their own form of jails, et cetera, judicial system, whatever, outside the dominion of the United States, which that ain't gonna happen in this country. There's been several different states that have tried it in the past. It doesn't work. But a lot of people think, and it was over slavery. But the main premise behind the Civil War was secession. It was the 13 colonies trying to separate, well, the original 13 colonies, which means everything from Pennsylvania on down to Florida. They were trying to separate themselves from the United States because of currency. Now, I know this very well because I used to live down south. I had a teacher that used to do Civil War enactments, believe it or not, and he took us on a field trip so we could go see his Civil War enactment. But if you don't understand what I mean by that is, they would have troops of up to sometimes 70 to 80 men, and they would reenact Civil War battles in front of us. It was a spectacle to see. If you ever get a chance, just go online. I'm sure you can find it. Just put in Civil War reenactments, and you'll be surprised by what you see, I guarantee you. So the war was actually fought over the South trying to secede from the United States. They had their own form of currency. If you go to most little mom and pop shops, you can find Confederate dollars, okay? Confederate dollars are worth every bit of nowadays, and they were after the war, but you can find them. Well, the reason I'm bringing all that up is a lot of the behavior that you're getting from your women nowadays go back to the Civil War and everything that was happening before the Civil War. These women have reverted full time back into mammy, including Megan Thee Stallion. Mammy. I don't care what nobody say. This is mammy behavior. And sooner or later, mammy had to get checked. Now, I don't know how you're going to check mammies in your area. I don't know how you decide how you deal with the mammies in your area. But here in the Northeast, let me tell you a story. A lot of people ask, How do white men get their women so much under control, and why are they the most vocal about feminism, right? Including with Amelia Earhart and Sarah back in the 1800s, shortly after the Emancipation Proclamation, the forming the women's suffrage movement, or whatever, whatever. And I want you to feel free to ask any intelligent white person the same question, because like I said, I grew up with, so I know. You know how white men got their women to listen to them? And the same with Latin men as well. Putting paws on them bitches. See, there's no fear factor with these chicks. You're allowed to say whatever you want to say, and then you got the mama's boys and cucks that come right behind them and and basically support their messages, whatever, however toxic their message is, however bad it is for the culture, whatever, whatever. You have to realize the cuck, the mama's boy, the simp, his all-time goal is three things: support that woman no matter what silly shit she says. Two, support that woman because he's trying to get some vajay. Three, support that woman because of pure simple fact, it reminds him of mama. Ain't no love you're gonna get for a mama like the love from a simp. A man will leave the house or whatever, whatever. He'd be like, "Ah, mama, come on now, ain't going with that bullshit." Not a simp. A simp will stay as close as he can to his mama. That's all he knows. Simps are dangerous. Simps are more dangerous than feminists. Y'all don't realize that. The reason I say simps are more dangerous than feminists because a simp is still a man. He has all the physical attributes of a man. He has the physical strength of a man. Oh, he is a man. He is a man. But the simp is the most dangerous out of all because the simp will say anything, do anything, move any kind of way or whatever, whatever, all in support of other silly ass women like himself or silly ass women that raised him like his mama. When you find most of these simps and their mothers, you'll find that their mama had a history of not being shit. This was the chick you could hit off in the bathroom after the game. This was the chick that said, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. This is my first gangbang." Oh my God, stop it. This is like my first gangbang. Oh, you guys this long? She was that chick. You understand? Oh, a lot of your mamas was that chick. I remember this movie, what was it, House Party 2, House Party 3, or whatever. Bernie Mac came out. He said, "Oh, I remember you. I knew I remember you. They used to call you Jawbone back in the day." Oh, please believe it. Your mama had one or two in the jaw at one time. It was a motherfucker that pulled out, beep, beep. All right, now come on now, bitch. And your kids used to be like, "Mama, that man out there." It happened. You know what I'm saying? "Mama, that man at the door again." "Who? The one that took us for all the groceries the other day?" "Oh, that's my friend." Yeah, it's your friend. That's mama's friend. Huh? "Mama, where you going in the back?" "Mama, why was your legs up in the air like that?" "Oh, he was helping me look for something in the bed." Don't you love your mama? Don't you like the groceries? You know, it's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. And it's something unilateral. A couple of us guys, if you're listening to this right now, you've been that guy. You've been that guy. Oh, hey, 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 listen, I know you're caught up and I know you got a lot to do, but listen, we're having a hard time this month. I need some groceries for the kids. But what you willing to do for it? I want to help you out, but help me out. Help me out so I can help you. You know what I mean? We all seen that. You ever seen the movie Set It Off? What did Jada Pickett's character do? She slept with old homeboy, didn't she? For that change. Come on, man. This shit been going on for years. Stop playing. Stop playing. You don't like how it sounds, but ladies, that's what you've been doing traditionally for a long time. Not all of you. Of course not. A lot of y'all was smart enough to go get a husband. You ain't have to worry about that. But for you single women that like to bounce back and say, "Oh, ain't no man good enough," which leads me to this. Based off me saying that, a lot of these chicks that were condemning Tory Lanez, I found something unilaterally, strangely odd, but in contraction with all of them. I'm going to say out of 100% of these girls, at least 62 to maybe 70% almost of these girls lived in public housing, had 3 or 4 side babies. And then the funniest thing was a whole bunch of old women Now, I'm not talking about a woman that's 40 something, 50 something. No, these women were like 60 something years old. A lot of them, I won't go as far as to say 70, but definitely late 50s to 60 years old. And these women were online and they were like, yeah, that's right. You go, man. Chick, you couldn't even take your old ass, and they were out of shape. So I'm not talking about a 60-year-old woman like Angela Bassett who looks absolutely beautiful. I'm not talking about a woman like that, or Rosie Perez who's 60 something years old and can still dance to this day, or Jennifer Lopez who's looks great to this day and can still dance her ass off. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that. And there's videos up to prove this. I'm not talking about women like that. I'm talking about a woman that ain't never picked up a dumbbell in her life, a woman that's never done a chest flex before, a woman that's never done sit-ups, a woman that's never done leg crunches, her whole entire life. That's why when I look at some people sometimes, they don't realize it, but I can automatically tell if you've ever worked out. And the one thing that gives you away every time is your posture. Your posture. Your posture is something that you have to work on, and your spine, and I say, malforms to whatever your regimen is. Anybody that works out, they'll tell you that your spine malforms to whatever work regimen, whatever exercise regimen you have. I mean, if you're a person that consistently works out for years or whatever, your body will malform to that over the years. But it takes years to do this. It's not something that just happens overnight, meaning like you can work out for a little bit, and if you stop working out, and you stop working out for years, you will not have that same physique as you did years ago. You'll have something that maybe, lines with it, but it won't be the same because the muscle memory, everything's off muscle memory. So your muscle memory is not it's not accustomed to that. So now it has to almost malform irregularly. You understand? So I can look at a woman and I can tell, okay, you just started working out. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but there's certain things that give it away. Like with women, if they just started working out but haven't never worked out before, the first thing that you'll see is they'll have certain fat deposits that just won't go away. I like to call them fat points. Usually they're up under their arms towards their back, or as we say in Spanish, chichos, which are like little fat pockets that are around the side going to your back. You understand what I'm saying? They're extremely hard for women to get rid of, and usually require like liposuction or something like that to get rid of it fully. It's a fat pocket that is really, to be quite honest with you, is oil sitting on your body. Your body, your body produces oil out of a lot of the fats that you consume. And so since our bodies are made from oil, especially if you're a darker hue person, like you're somebody that's Latin or black, women tend to suck in the diet. Women tend to saturate some of these oils into their, trust me, everything that black people and Latin people make got some type of fucking oil in it. It's fried or baked with oil in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, get the fuck out of here. I've been eating black and Latin food all my fucking life. When cuche frito, and tu sabes, ratandule, everything Latin and black got fucking oil in it somewhere. So you're eating these saturated fats. And I know this is kind of off the side, but I'm just saying this because I think a lot of women should hear this, because we have this thing with embracing body positivity, and basically you're embracing fat broads. You know what I mean? Which is like totally wrong. This is not going to work out for you in the end. If you're a big woman and you can't lose the weight, that's one thing. But if you're a big woman and you're just celebrating being unhealthy like that, they just had this woman that was a vlogger just recently that passed away. She was a vlogger and she was on one of these shows, Fat and Fabulous, or one of these shows about I think it was a hair salon or something like that. First of all, I want to say RIP to the woman. The woman was only 37 years old. And she celebrated being big and heavy and large and in charge or whatever. And she passed away from complications of being obese. It's one thing being a BBW. It's another thing being chubby. I could do a chubby woman. I like a woman with little curves on there every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Come over there, slap that ass. I like that. I think most men, they like a woman that's a little curvy or whatever, whatever. But you can't be out of fucking shape lifelong, baby. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you why are you breathing like that? You ain't come up those 5 steps like me? 5 steps. You get me? You know what I mean? Like, if you're like that after walking up 10 or 15 steps, and you're like, how much farther we got till we get there? You're not for me. You're not for me. Be real considerate. All cucks, mama's boys, simps. Since you want to encourage these women to doing so much, encourage them to go to the gym. Encourage them. I don't like Derek Jackson, but at least Derek Jackson encouraged women to work out. He went and got him a woman that works out now. Because evidently, probably his last woman didn't want it. She wasn't into that. You have to be into that type of culture or whatever. So that's a total different conversation. Back to the unfuckables. I don't want y'all to get lost in this. Back to the unfuckables, the ones that support Meg the Stallion. I just want to say this in closing to all the unfuckables online, one and one alike, because it seems like y'all unilaterally the same person. And a special message for Jay-Z real quick. Jay, first of all, I want to say this. You need to get control of this situation, all right? If you don't make an announcement, you need to get someone to make an announcement on behalf of this little young gal, the H-Town hottie who is Meg the Stallion, aka the chick that needs to be assembled before she looks like shit. You understand? Because they'll make no mistake about it. This chick needs to be assembled. Y'all missing that ideology too. I'm gonna get that in the latter part of this about women that need to be assembled versus actual beautiful women. We are substituting women that need to be assembled and counting out women that are actually beautiful. And being actually beautiful is not condescending with just how you look, but who you are inside. And a lot of you chicks look like doppelgangers of each other. Like they look like anime characters. But Jay-Z, Roc Nation, or Meg the Stallion, y'all need to make a motherfucking announcement. We need to know how y'all feel. What are y'all scared of? Oh, I know. Tory might get that appeal. Oh, they might come back and count on Meg for those lies she told in court. Oh, they might come back and find, what's her name, Kelsey, liable for some of the lies she told, which I don't understand what part of the judicial system is now admitting women lying to the court. Because Amber Heard did the same thing. She lied under oath. And in the regular world, that broad would have been arrested right there on the spot. I'll say this in ending. If you don't, Jay-Z, if Roc Nation doesn't, by at least Friday, and I know certain ears will hear this. I know certain ears will hear this, and I know certain one of y'all listen very carefully to me, even though you'll act like you ain't there, you'll act like you don't like my posts, you'll act like you ain't gonna donate. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. I tell you guys all the time, there's about 10 people right now in the music industry that could literally change my life overnight and be like, yo, here's 2030, get back on yes. But they won't. These are my accolades. These are my brothers of the industry, my brothers in music. You're not your brothers, trust me. We gotta create a whole. I would rather create a new dynamic with the younger male artists that aren't simps, aren't cucks. I would rather, and I've seen this worked out better like that. I'd rather create a bond with them than these old motherfuckers. These old motherfuckers are out here celebrating like sissies, and yes, you are. You motherfuckers out here celebrating like sissies and happy-go-lucky motherfucking Hugh Hefners. You know what I mean? Like that's the best way I can put it. It's really like Narnia type behavior. It's weird. Like if you really watch some of your favorite stars, especially the older ones, like if you really watch their behavior, it's very coy McMuffin. It's very moist. It's very easy to understand why somebody from the outside would be looking inside and be like, yo, that comes off as homosexual behavior. I see where y'all get it from. I get it. Because your ways are those of a homosexual man. You know, a homosexual man, they're real catty, like a woman is, I guess. But they go out of their way to be like, bitch, you ain't upstaging me, bitch. You know what I mean? Type of attitude. And I don't want to talk too much because then they be trying to say, he on that bashing the LBGT. Motherfucker, my cousin, part of the LBGT. Shout out to my little cousin. I ain't gonna say her name, but she's a female. You know what I'm saying? And she lives her life. That's who she is. You know what I mean? And I love her no differently. My point I'm getting at is Roc Nation, Jay-Z, or whoever is responsible for her PR. Y'all need to get on this. And if y'all don't make a micro announcement, even and that means inclusive of a tweet, that means inclusive of a post, that means inclusive of, send something over there to baller alert. I can't believe in 2023 y'all relied on a site called Baller Alert. The name is what they've been around since 2012. Y'all need to update y'all name or the Jasmine brand. What's the other one? What's the other corny ass one? I forgot what it's called. This is Jasmine brand, and then this other little corny one too. It's Baller Alert. Yeah, somebody write in the chat. Y'all tell me in a minute. But it's the one that's the most menacing out of all of them. I forgot what the name of it is. But they always put their little tag on it. It'll be somebody else's film work, and they put their tag on it. I put a camera on mine and put what's the name on mine, words on mine, so nobody will steal my video. You know what I mean? But they down to make the whole video just like it's ours. I forgot what the name of it is. The Baller Report, the Jasmine brand, and then it's the other one. I'll think of it in a minute. The Shade Room. That's the name of it. The Shade Room. These three motherfucking sets of shitty ass fucking editorial alongside World Star, RP to Q, but alongside World Star, those four fucking entities that are all except for World Star actually built around and made their own thing. And I'll give the what's the other one called? It's the Jasmine Brand Baller Report, and then I forgot the Shade Room. The Shade Room actually built their own offices and things like that too. So I'll give them that. But these motherfuckers have made a life and a living off of gossiping in a negative tone on people of color for a couple of years now. You understand what I'm saying? Most of the atrocities that you see that happen in the culture have been a result of these four people that I just mentioned. So go ahead and throw it over there to them, Jay. Or throw it over to a couple other people. I ain't getting out of line, Emma. I ain't talking too much, Emma. I'm sorry if I am. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Am I talking too much? I'm sorry. I had a couple people tell me that before from the music industry. You talking too much, Sean. You can't tell them that. Sent me emails, pretended they were other people online. This your last time. I still got them. I can show them, but I don't. I think it's been like 4 or 5 people I've shown stuff like that to, and they didn't believe me at first until I showed them. I said, "No, for real. There's people in the music industry that really want me to shut the fuck up." There's just one certain woman that runs around and she pretends like that's the case, but ain't nobody approached you except for 2 people, and they didn't even approach you in person. They approached you on video. I've had people approach me in person about the shit I say. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot different, and I didn't say anything as heinous as you, but anyway. What you get out of all this is if Jay-Z, Rock Nation, or those companies involved in tow don't make an announcement about this Megan Thee Stallion thing by the time the new year rolls into it, you are now opening up, and I'm saying this from a marketing perspective, and listen very closely, Jay, or anybody associated with him that's listening. What you do is you create a paradigm where we now run into the new year talking about last year's story. And now you got to explain last year's story because people become inquisitive and they say, well, why are we talking about last year's story still here in 2023? It's a new year. I'm supposed to have new vibes, new energy, everything like that. Yet still, we still talking about Meg Thee Stallion and her merry band of unfuckables that follow her. Yes, the unfuckables. All the women that follow Meg Thee Stallion. One thing I find in common, many of them bitches is ugly as hell. They're ugly. And I don't think we're going to bring that word back in 2023. You ugly. There's nothing wrong with telling a motherfucker they ugly. It's being realistic. You ugly. 9 times out of 10, if your ugly ass become a multi-millionaire and you still have kids, your kids are going to be ugly too. Your kids are going to probably be ugly. Your DNA does not change because you become opulent. All right? That's the biggest misconception the world has ever carried on. All of a sudden, you are attractive because you got money. No, you're still the same ugly motherfucker with a haircut or a nice suit or a nice dress or whatever you want to say. You're still the same ugly motherfucker as before, and your kids will probably be ugly. Something you got to live with. The point I'm getting at is guys, if Jay or his company doesn't make an announcement about this little H-Town hottie, that's what she goes about, H-Town hottie. Who was saying hottie in 2023? The terms that these little goofy girls make up, that one time it was reserved for double Dutch and freaking the parking lot or some shit, is now being brought into the forelight and being used as a marketing tool for people that are basically, how can I say it, familiar with this type of ghetto behavior in one way, fashion, or another. Make no mistake about it. Meg Thee Stallion is not some upscale chick that you should hominize and think that she's the one to be like or whatever, whatever. This is not a high-end chick. This is not a high-end chick. If you just look at her a couple years back in the game before she blew, you will find out for yourself. This is not a high-end chick. This is a thought. And in the regular world, if she was around us, this is the chick you could pass around very quickly and easily. And I think example was that was all the romantic innuendos she's had with many of different people. And those men were men and they kept their mouth shut, including the baby, including Trey Songz. Like Lil Kim said, a real one. Chicks suck just to get to the top. Megan did one of those. So all that proud woman stuff and all that shit you talking about and women's rights or whatever, this chick slept her way to the top. She was strategic in who she slept with. She aligned herself and slept with people at the time who were on the top of their game. Look at the time when she was messing with Baby. Baby was on the top of his game. That's when Baby was throwing out a single every 2-3 days. It felt like. All the singles sounded the same. They were the bump in the club. If you wasn't playing the Baby, it was something wrong. You understand? So you have these women, like Meg Thee Stallion, that are very strategic, very selective in who they deal with, or who they mingle with, or whatever, in efforts of their career. One of the few, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it 2 times over, one of the few girls right now that I really, really, out of all of them, Ice Spice, all of them, one of the girls that I really respect right now is Glorilla. You know why I respect Glorilla? I ain't heard about Glorilla being in the batch of any mess. I haven't heard of Glorilla, anybody hating on her or whatever, because she's Glorilla. I haven't heard of anybody of her trying to attack anybody per se. I haven't, she's living with the fact that she got a small booty, which it looks cute on her. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Glorilla because I think she's pretty. She's a cute little chick, even though she got to be assembled a little bit too. She's cute. You know what I mean? And I saw pictures and video of her before she got the fame. She pretty much looks like the same person. So when she was working at the little fast food joint, I ain't gonna say where, she was working at the fast food. So I respect Glorilla because she's natural. She's herself. She doesn't have to use all these assembly products. She doesn't have to, I mean, for the battle of the word and competition, if you're saying amongst what's available now, I would say that she's less. She doesn't have a BBL. She doesn't look crazy. She just looks normal. Glorilla looks like the chick that if you went to the movies one night late or whatever, it would be her and like 5 of her homegirls walking out the same movie theater. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, hey, Shorty, what's your name? You know, hey, yo, come in. Y'all know that one. Hey, yo, come in. You know? So she looks like one of those chicks. So shout out to Glorilla. I actually like Glorilla. I won't say I like all her music, but I like her as a person. I like her personality. And some of her songs, though, they just a little off. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, too, if you hear this. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about that one day, too. You know what I'm talking about. Shout out to Yo Gotti. So, ending this, guys, I just want to say this. And this is all I'm saying. I'm going to get up off here. And I want to tell you guys, if you want to donate, please donate $STRINGERBELL80. Make sure you go down below and watch live video I did from Trump Tower where I kept it emphatically real, I feel anyway, last night in front of the tower about everything that I felt, to be quite honest with you, including some of the travesties that are going on in the Black and Latin culture right now. I like talking about Black and Latin culture because I'm part of both of them. Yo soy negrito, I'm still black, but you know what I mean? Nevertheless, you can't take away my DNA. You can't take away my birth certificate. So fuck you if you don't like it. But I will say this. We got to start watching these women that we're supporting online. A lot of the behavior that these women have is toxic as hell. It's not good for the culture. It's not good for people in general. It's not good for your children to consume it. And it's not good for little young girls to listen to this, to have the possibility of one day wanted to become married, wanted to become mothers, wanted to become grandmothers, and literally all kinds of other things you could think of under the paradigm of family. We're not doing that. Instead, we're supporting any dumb thing that these girls say online and rolling with it as men. And I want to say to you weak ass, cuck Billy, how can I say it? Zucchini down the back of your throat types. You weak motherfuckers got some problems. In 2023, we're gonna be going after cucks. We're gonna be going after simps. We're gonna be going after mama's boys because they have to be stopped. The mama's boy, the cuck, and the zucchini pleaser, you do not fit in the same fold as men, as myself, and many others. And I'm tired of you getting your voice amplified by siding with these feminists, faux feminists at that. Faux feminists, not real feminists, faux feminists. That's spelled F-A-U-X. Faux feminists, fake feminists that use victimhood as a navigating vessel through life and everything. Oh my God. I told you, got to equate it to like daddy's only daughter. When daddy's only daughter starts crying, right? Who listens? Daddy. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. Don't do that. I get anything from my daddy. That's what you're dealing with in society now. These girls are collectively that believe in that bullshit. And daddy is the police department. Daddy is the judicial system. Daddy is the boss at your job. Daddy. I had this woman yesterday, and I lied to you not. She heard me when I said it. And I said it so she would hear me when I said it. And maybe I meant it, maybe I didn't mean it, but I'm gonna tell y'all what I said. This woman, I was waiting for the subway, and this woman, she gets off the train, and she's one of the what's-her-name. Now the train is pulling into the station, as it stops there. Sometimes they dock the trains there, and they sit at the station for a while, or whatever the case may be. So this black woman, she gets off the train, and she's a rather large bitch. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. This is a big bitch, and I call her a bitch respectfully, but disrespectfully because of her behavior. But this is a big bitch. And I got two sisters, all right? My sisters call women bitches. That's why I learned how to distinguish the bitches from the women and the ladies. So this big bitch, she had to be every bit of like maybe 5'11" or so. So I can understand with the average work crew that she has, she's probably the tallest one out of the bunch. But what she didn't realize was, you're not a man. I stand 6'3". So when I walked up, when she walked off the train, because I guess she had finished her shift or whatever, she looks at me and looks at me as if to say, you gonna get out of my way? And I'm waiting for her to say something like, excuse me, pardon me, whatever, whatever. Because mind you, if anybody, any other culture, that's what she would have done. But she chose to do that with me. So she comes out of her mouth and she says, excuse me. And I just moved to the side. I let her get through, whatever, whatever, whatever. But it was what she said after. I done worked all these hours. People don't be doing as much, all this extra shit. And so I said to her, I said, chick, nobody gives a fuck. And I said it in front of everybody. And the first thing that happened, I forgot to tell the story yesterday because it happened right after I left Trump Tower. And so everybody's, yeah, our folks do. Ooh, all that, whatever it was. So she was embarrassed. This big bitch turned around and walked towards me like she was getting ready to do something. And I told her before she got any closer, I said, lady, and I will knock you the fuck out in front of everybody. I will knock you the fuck out in front of everybody. And these cameras are going to explain the reason why I knocked you the fuck out. Because one, you're trying to act like a fucking man. And I'm pretty sure you do this behavior on a daily basis at your job where you punk certain men using your gender. I'm not the one. Now, I don't beat on women and no shit like that, but I'm a firm believer, bitch, if you challenge me, the gender is out of the question at that point. You challenged me physically. You understand? And under the laws of the doctrines of the law in this country, I could defend myself. So if you walk towards me in a violent tone, a violent fashion, or show me that you're going to do something to me, you're not putting no scratches on my face, my body, none of that. I don't give a fuck about any of that gender shit or whatever. I don't care who your brothers are, whatever, whatever. I don't care about any of that shit. If you put your hands on me, legally under the guise of the law, I have the right to defend myself. I had to say that and have a police officer reiterate that to a motherfucker before. Not because I put my hands on them, because they didn't believe that. Some women are under misconstrued thought that if a man puts his hands on a woman, I'm not advocating that, but I'm saying if a man puts his hands on a woman while defending himself, then automatically he's going to be found guilty of some shit. Well, if that's the case, how come Tory Lanez had to go to court? You see what I'm saying? Tory Lanez had to go to court. And there's other men around here in this country that have had the same thing. I've seen video after video of white men. Like there was that one video in the restaurant where the woman was trying to knock the food out of the man's hand for no reason whatsoever, other than she felt like it. The man smacked the shit out of her. A couple of years ago, we had a video. I forgot what train it was on, but there was a Dominican brother. Y'all remember him? He had the 8-ball jacket on, real tall, same as me. I think he's a foot taller than me. He's like 6'4", 6'5", or something like that. The guy works as a bouncer. And so this little black girl kept getting in his mouth or whatever. She swung at him and hit him. He smacked the shit out that bitch. He said it was a smack heard around the world. Y'all remember that video? It was a Dominican brother with the 8-ball jacket on, the red and white 8-ball jacket on. And the chick smacked him in his face and he smacked the shit out of him. So it's not just me. So I don't want you to, because then it'll be, they'll segregate it to the same line as me. No. There's a lot of men that see this bullshit or whatever. And you're not, being a female does not guarantee you the right to go around and put your hands on people. And there are laws created in different states that substantiate what I'm saying. Now, that man with the Dominican jacket on, they arrested him. They let him go within 20 minutes. They said the only reason we have to arrest you is because the pure simple fact is process. You have to do this as process. That's the only reason. The New York City Police Department made that statement. They put it in a statement and released it to the press. So it's not made up. So a lot of you ladies are under the misconstrued fact that you can run around, put your hands on men, and nothing comes out of it legally or immediately. And that's just not the case. I don't know who put this in your mind. This is not the 1920s. We're not running around on fucking horse and buggy, you know what I mean? And all that shit. You put your hands on me, you come at me in some violent force, I will lay your ass the fuck down. And that includes stabbing, shooting, whatever the fuck else, because these girls are violent. There are girls walking around New York City right now. I know there are girls walking around New York City now with pistols, tasers, mace, knives. They have little things that are hidden as knives, like combs and all kinds of crazy shit. And I remember even before these girls are the current. Before then, I remember when the girls, and I've never lived in New York all my life, but what I did was I used to go down because I lived here in Connecticut, so we used to go down back and forth. The girls, especially the Latin girls, they used to carry razor blades under the tongue. Some girls will put razor blades in their hair. So because you got real pretty hair. My homegirl Nia Salty, she used to do that. My homegirl Poochie used to do that too. They used to take razor blades in their hair because when bitches would go try to fight them, the first thing they would do is grab their hair. You understand what I'm saying? The Poochie, she got beautiful hair. Poochie's hair comes down to like her shoulder. And she always wear it in braids. You know what I mean? That's just like her thing. And so when you go to grab one of them braids, you're going to slice your fucking hand up because you don't know individually under each one of them blades. She done took clear masking tape, that thick but clear masking tape, and she done cut it into segments where it wrap around, but it's in a certain, like how you wrap the tape around and then you put it flat. It's like you create like I guess that'd be a cone or something. And then she would put the razor blade on top of the whatever the spoon was. So if you grabbed her hair while y'all were fighting, slicing your fucking hand up. You know what I'm saying? I'm dead serious. I can't tell you how many Latin and black girls I know that walk around, especially in Harlem and Bronx. They got fucking razor blades in their mouth still to this day. I know girls that carry around pistols. I have 3 friends that have legal pistol permits. You know what I'm saying? One of them works for the court. You know what I'm saying? This is a fact in New York City. And so you walk up on her and you're thinking, oh, she's a pushover. This chick will lay you down legally. That's the point you got to get at. I can lay you down legally. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about some hood booger, hanging on the corner shit. I'm talking about legally. You understand? It's a very big, broad difference there. And even that has its own staplets and everything like that. Because if you lay somebody down legally, you then have to produce to many different agencies why you did such. It's not just the police department. You have to actually go through the permits department. You have to actually go through a whole judiciary committee for that. It's a whole bunch to it when you lay down somebody legally. So it's not something I suggest. But these girls are running around like that, and they're running around violent, and we're pretending like these girls are not violent. Amber Heard was violent. We got to see examples of how violent Amber Heard was. You get what I'm saying in the Johnny Depp case? And everybody thought the Amber Heard, oh, she's just so beautiful. She's just so innocent. No, that's a hidden trait. That's why I told you once again, anytime you get a Latina and she coming at you and she constantly smiling all the time, is one of two things going on. One, either she's some beja benjibara. For y'all don't understand Spanish, that means like some chick, but benjibara pero la campos. Some beja from fucking the country. Or two, most of the time, a hustling ass chick. Whatever she's hustling for, she's hustling. And that's what the grins and smiles and all that is to gain your trust. And once she gains your trust, that's what she gonna do, the fucked up shit she gonna do to you. I got told a long time ago, and I heard my dad say it, and it always stuck with me. He didn't say it to me. He said it in the conversation he was having. And he said, I can't stand no bitch to smile all the fucking time. He said, the only person I like to smile is my mother. That's it. If you smiling with me all the time as a woman and there ain't no reason for you to be smiling, you're up to something. And he was right. And I keep that to this day. To this day. Every chick that I know that was Latina that smiled all the time and grinned all the time or whatever, that bitch was either a witch, a fucking sorceress. You know what I'm saying? I saw a chick come out the fucking Botanica last night when I was in fucking Bronx. Walked right out of there, looked right at me. She looked right at me in a way that it made me stop. I said, oh, this is a witch. A bruja. I'm going to end out with that. And I'm going to say, y'all watch these chicks that's following Meg Thee Stallion. Because it's like I said with witches, those chicks are some witches. And they're conjuring a spell. And their spell is spreading. Because each person that joins into the conversation, they're working in with the, how can I say it? They're working in with the incantation. Guys, I'll talk to you later. Make sure you hit up the Cash App.